Hello, and welcome to a very stuttery start, I guess. Hello, and etc. 120, please. My name is Ryan, or Comrade Bubbles. Those of you who've been watching the show for 58 other episodes, this is episode 59, good grief, will know me as someone who says the same things at the start of every episode. So if you usually here, you can probably skip ahead like 10 minutes. It's time to hear from the start. Hello, Ghost of Cinders. Hopefully the word minds are treating you well. Episode 11 of this series of the show. Whatever. Looking at Trinity Continuum, specifically core, and some community content I'm writing for it, and discussing why I'm doing certain things and answering questions. But that's fine, happy chap. Welcome to the channel. Thank you for migrating over from my channel. I do not speak for Onyx Path, nor is this project official material. All views and opinions expressed are my own, and this material will be available to buy on the Storypath Nexus. Yep, Storypath Nexus at some indeterminate point in the future. I'm merely a grateful fan with a platform and a show. And really, that's all that sets me apart from anyone else who wants to write community content. I have the show. Please, someone else pitch a community content show. I realised I think I'm the longest running show on this channel, and I don't know how to feel about that because I don't feel like I actively contribute meaningfully to the Onyx Path Twitch channel, but I'm here all the same. I am going to continue my spiel. I am disabled. I do experience muscle spasms that can affect the muscles of my jaw, throat, tongue, etc. Can lead to a worsening of my normal stammer, anyway, or stutter if you prefer the word, and also slurred speech. It can also produce, like my head can move in odd directions that can be disquieting to see, and if that does occur, I will close the webcam. Shut the webcam feed down while I resolve the issue. If it becomes too much, I will have to cancel the stream, but so far that has not yet happened. So, you know the drill by now. I'm going to drop a load of links. I'm going to talk at you about the links, and then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of the show. I don't know why I said that. That's not something I can ever remember saying before. Hopefully I don't say it again. So let's just get started with the rundown. That is the link to the Monday meeting notes, as ever. The best place to go for any updates on Onyx Path. Yep, just checking that's the right Monday meeting notes. So, starting off with the big thing. Friday this week is the third Onyx Path virtual convention. It's always a good time from everything that I've heard. I unfortunately don't get much time to catch it. But if you are a fan of the show, I'll mention this again later, but if you are a fan of the show, I will be on the Community Content Fundamentals panel on Sunday the 12th at 4 PM Eastern, I think it is. I'll confirm that when I scroll down to the convention section. But myself and Alain, who is occasionally in chat and has released a lot, and I mean a lot, of Scarred Lands material, will be there, along with, I think, someone from One Bookshelf, who are the platform owners. And we'll be talking about community contents, and hopefully there'll be good questions to answer. If you are watching this show and you are planning on turning up, please make me look interesting and good so that I can continue to do this show. I love doing it, as stressful as it is for me. And there we go. But if you're interested in stuff other than my face, why would you be? But if you are, there's like 40 plus games being run throughout the con across a couple of channels. The panels all weekend, obviously. Sorry. Actual plays, and then 40 plus con games. There are actual plays across a couple of channels, as well as the panels and everything, and all of the information on that is in the convention section, like 2/3 of the way down the page, if you're interested in such things. Other big important thing is that Exalted Exigence on Indiegogo, link coming at you right there. Hopefully these links are posting in chat and I'm not doing that weird ghost thing that Twitch does occasionally. As of time of recording, it is 338% funded with 17 days left. Exigence being a unique Exalt type. They totally are, thank you. Exigence being Thank you, Weirdness, and welcome to the channel. Occasionally, Twitch does this thing where it looks like you can post messages fine, but no one actually sees them because they don't actually post. So, which is weird. Exigents are a unique exalt type. Thank you all for confirming they are. I always worry. I do everything I can to mitigate the ghost posts, but obviously, to me, they look fine. So I appreciate the confirmations. Exigents are unique exalt types, unlike solars and lunars, where there's like loads of, I say relatively. There are numbers of exalts that share like power sets, charms, etc. Exigents, usually there's only one exalt in the entirety of creation with that particular power set and charm knowledge. Kiwi's here in spirit, wonderful. I like it when people I know are perceiving me doing something that I don't feel terribly confident in my skill to do. If that has piqued your interest, of course, go over to the Indiegogo page. The way Indiegogo is set up is that, unlike Kickstarter, where the funds are taken at the end of the campaign, if it funds, Indiegogo funds are taken at the time of pledge, but if the campaign doesn't fund, you'll get your money back. Now, that is not true of all Indiegogo campaigns. Some of them will just take the money because of the way the campaign is set up for like ongoing funding. This one is very much, if the project isn't funded, and I must remind you, it is 338% funded as of time of recording, you won't get the money back because you've essentially pledged to buy the product. If you are interested in Exalted, there is an Exalted panel right after the opening ceremonies. At 7 PM Eastern on Friday, and an Exalted Essence panel on Sunday at 11 AM Eastern. Both of them, as the Monday meeting notes points out, are great opportunities to ask about Exigents, even if Exalted Essence is its own thing. If you're curious about what the two things are, Exalted Essence is a rulebook of like streamlined mechanics from Exalted 3rd Edition. Essence itself is still like 400 pages long. It is a beefy tome, don't get me wrong, but everything you need is designed to be in that book, plus the companion that was funded through the Kickstarter, that's by the by. Whereas Exalted 3E has a lot of... One, the core book is like 600 pages, and two, it has splat books for each of the Exalt types, of which Exigence is merely the latest supplement, splat book, source book, whatever you want to call it. So there we go. Also this month, because it's the 10th anniversary of Onyx Path, this month is the Crossroads Continent month, which means there is 90% off. The core book is a deadly bashing weapon, Ghost of Cinders. It really is. It, like, you could either build a house, like, if let's go for the Three Little Pigs. The Three Little Pigs, one of them could have built their house out of Exalted 3rd Edition rulebooks and it would not have fallen over. It's an impressive, very interesting system and book. It's just a lot. Yes, Crossroads Continent is a 5th edition. It's a D&D 5th edition setting. It is Rich Thomas's, whichever he prefers. I do not know. Own like homebrew setting that he and Travis and I are like working together to put out for 5th edition. Right now, there is only one product that sale will apply to: Peoples of the Crossroads Continent, which is player options for the Crossroads Continent games. But from Wednesday, Down in the Hole, the first adventure written in decades for the Crossroads Continent, will be added to DriveThruRPG for sale, and it will be included in that sale. More on sales later, obviously, but we shall continue. Rich T is running the Pathcast crew plus Travis, I believe, through the through that adventure. I should also point out, and it's turned into like a 3-part thing. And the third episode, the finale, will both be a Pathcast episode and an actual play at 10 AM on Saturday during the Onyx Path Virtual Con if you want to watch it finished live. So that's pretty exciting. Covered the Kickstarter, covered the... Right, we're on the media section. This week, the Pathcast is Crossroads Continent Actual Play Part 2 with Dixie, Eddie, Matthew, and Travis Legg. Media breakdown, as usual. I'll run through it really quickly. Tuesday, 9 AM Eastern. It's my face and voice, and I promise you I have hands too, with which to type in 10 minutes time. Tuesday noon, so an hour after the show ends, the final episode for, I think, this season. I think that they plan to do more, but the final episode for Lunch and Crunch with, I believe, Matthew Dawkins is appearing as a guest, and they're talking about making humorous RPGs, where, you know, the point of the game is comedy. That's a very reductive overview based on what I remember of the Monday meeting notes. But if you're interested in the professional side of role-playing, of writing and creating role-playing games, I highly recommend checking out Lunch and Crunch. I think most, if not all, of the previous episodes are available on YouTube now. But please don't quote me on that. And then Tuesday, 6 PM, They Came From Beyond the Grave Story Path Showcase. I believe Travis is running that, and by all accounts, that's also a fun time. Wednesday, 9 PM Eastern, Made to the Ascension Walking into Shadow. Thursday, nothing. You can have Thursday to yourself. We'll allow it. And then Friday through Sunday is the virtual convention. Opening ceremonies at 5 PM Eastern on Friday. Closing ceremonies at 5:30 PM Eastern on Sunday. I'm not going to run through all of the events. You know what? I'll list the panels to see if anything piques your interest, but there are actual plays spread over 4 channels. Occultist Anonymous, Plastic Age Plays, Dork Tales, and One-Day Rolling Nomads for the 4th channel. So please do check the Monday meeting notes. The link again was in chat for the actual plays. The media highlight of the week, by the way, Devil's Look Gaming, still continuing to play through their Adventure and Assassins crossover Trinity Continuum game, and they go all in on their games, so well worth watching. Also, this week, sorry. Well, I don't know how long it lasts. But for Onyx Path Virtual Convention, there's a 50% off sale, a wide range of Onyx Path PDFs on DriveThruRPG. So check that out if you are looking for any games you might not already have. I've mentioned Down in the Hole is on sale on Wednesday. Also on sale on Wednesday, Chronicles of Darkness Character Sheets Collection, which I can only assume is PDF versions of all the Chronicles of Darkness game lines, because with Hunter being available, that's every 2nd edition book available now. So that's pretty cool. So, quick rundown of the con, because it only happens once a year, so I don't mind taking the time out for the show immediately before it. So, starting on Friday, obviously. 5 PM Eastern, opening ceremonies. 7 PM Eastern, Exalted panel. These times are all in Eastern. 8:30 PM Scion panel. 10 PM Running Online Games panel. And then on Saturday, 10 AM They Came From panel. 11:30 AM Story Path Q&A. 1 PM Mage to the Ascension panel. 2:30 PM Badana Group interview. Badana Group being the charitable organisation that the con is supporting. 4 PM Trinity Continuum panel. 5:30 PM What's Up with Onyx Path, which is always their kind of like we're announcing products left and right panel, as well as, you know, other things. 7 PM Crossroads Continent panel. 8:30 PM Pugmire panel. 10 PM Chronicles of Darkness panel. And then we go to Sunday, live Pathcast with Q&A 10 AM. Exalted Essence panel 11:30 AM. 1 PM Ghost Hunters Werewolf panel. 2:30 PM Rich interview. 4 PM My Face plus Alan plus I assume at least one other person for the Community Content Fundamentals panel. Again, please tune in. And then 5:30 PM is the closing ceremonies for the convention. Obviously, this is all subject to change and update if things happen, but that's everything that's happening on this channel over the course of the weekend from Friday at 5 PM to Sunday at 5:30 PM. And then the actual play schedules are also listed, but, you know, it's worth just going to the to the media section and checking it out, the convention section, and checking it out for yourself, because I'm not going to read all of them. If there are any particular Onyx Path writers that you are interested in, or game devs, highly recommend following them on Twitter. I know a lot of them have been tweeting which panels they are appearing on, as Ghost of Cinders has pointed out. They're appearing on They Came From, Storypath Q&A, and the Ghost Hunt as well of panels. So if you like to follow the exploits, the works of certain writers, maybe one day that'll be me. Definitely worth following them on Twitter. You might have to stumble across them on Twitter. I don't have tags for all of them, but there we go. A lot of them are posting which panels they'll be on. I know Matthew Dawkins has posted which panels he's going to be on. And yes, Ghost of Cinders is also running a game with a bunch of nerds. Hint, one of them's me. I believe that will be available for everyone to listen to on the Onyx Path Discord, but not playing. Obviously, Ghost of Cinders will correct me if that is not the case. And then development status stuff. As usual, as is usual now, the full project timeline can be found in the release roundup for the previous month. So May 2022's release roundup will tell you where all the projects are at time of that article, of that page being written. However, we have a tasty bit for Silence in the Modern Day and first draft for Trinity Continuum. That's cool. That's in line with what I'm doing here. Except that's official. Mine isn't. In red lines, Aberrant from the Shadows, which is an Aberrant sourcebook about espionage and talents, which is going to be exciting. The Exalted Essence Companions, full of charms, martial arts, artifacts, and things, will be on the Discord, but not as an actual play. People can come and listen to us play in the meantime. Yes, that's what I thought. So if you want to hear some nerds play a game, the permission is there, I guess. Demigod Companion also in red lines. That's one I'm excited for also. Final Draft, Hunt the Vigil 2E Jumpstart. Development. Trinity Continuum Talents Player's Guide. New options, rules for talents. As well as TC Adventure. Thrilling Tales being a playable adventure for adventure. Art Direction has Exalted 3rd Edition Adversaries. Trinity Continuum Adventure. Speaking of. Deviant the Renegade Devoted and Clade Companion books. In layout, Mage 20, Victorian Mage, Masks of the Mythos. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for Masks of the Mythos. I cannot explain how excited I am for it. As well as Dragon. I'm pretty excited about Dragon as well, but, my heart lies with Mythos over espionage and dragons. I feel like some people I know are disowning me right now. Proofing, we've got TCA on mission statements as well as the M20 Sorcerer book. And then at press, Scion Demigod, Squeaks in the Deep, Screen, Book, Bookmarks, Hunt of the Vigil 2E, Hunt of the Vigil 2E, Screen. I'm talking with my hands and you can't see them. Mage 20, Operative Dossier, TC Aberrant Tarrant Novella, TC Continuum Assassin, Scarred Lands Dead Man's Rust, which is in the page Xing stage of at press. Side note, if you have any interest in D&D 5th edition or Scarred Lands, highly recommend Dead Man's Rust. It is a fantastic campaign. I backed it on Kickstarter. And I read the preview, and it was a ride. And then down in the hole, as mentioned, advanced PDF on sale on Wednesday. And then today's reason to celebrate, because it came out yesterday on Monday, is Travis Lake's birthday. And without Travis, arguably, this show wouldn't be here. So, belated happy birthday to Travis. And that is the Monday meeting notes. I admit that was a lot to take in. Hopefully, wasn't too much. So what is this show? What are we doing? Time to go back to work, have a nice day? Well, thank you for stopping by Ghost of Cinders. Hopefully you'll be able to catch some of the show later. If not, it's obviously up video on demand. And also just ask me what I cover and I will tell you. So what is this show? Like what is the bulk of the show? I've got like an hour and a half left. I'm writing a supplement, community content. Mentioned it's going up on the Storypath Nexus for Trinity Continuum Core. It's called Horrors of the Continuum. The title is right there to the right of my face, as you're looking at the screen. Also, slightly above it, please do feel free to ask anything about role-playing games, playing them, running them, writing material for them, whatever you can think of. ideally related to Onyx Path products, but you know, I'll try and keep it on track as much as I can. So again, back to basics for those who do not know about such things because they just haven't had the chance to learn about them. Trinity Continuum uses the story path system. It is a spiritual successor to the storyteller system. It is a skill-based dice pool system where your character sheet lists skills and attributes in ratings 1 through 5, certainly in core, and you add up dots and you roll the number of 10-sided dice that you have in dots, and an 8, 9 or a 10 is a success. A 10 you re-roll. You can keep re-rolling if you keep getting 10s, and you just get more successes that way. Successes are used to buy certain things, the most obvious being the difficulty. If you have enough successes to buy off the difficulty of an action, you succeed. Congratulations. Other things include complications. A complication is something that complicates your success. A classic example of scaling a brick wall with glass at the top. Brick wall requires 2 successes. It is difficulty 2, so it requires 2 successes to climb, and the broken glass is difficulty. It's a level 1 complication. If you get 2 successes only, you're fine. You get over the wall, but you kind of might hurt yourself on the glass. If you get 3 successes, you can buy off the complication. You get over the wall without any injury. Another kind of key mechanic is enhancement, mostly given to you by equipment, tools, weapons, etc. But it can come from other sources too. Enhancement gives you, much like complications, it's rated in levels, and the level of an enhancement tells you how many successes it just gives you. These are on top of successes generated from your dice roll, but you need at least 1 success on the dice roll to get your enhancement. So you might roll poorly, but as long as you have 1 success, if you have enough enhancement, you can still totally succeed at the action. So that's a very brief overview of the Trinity Continuum system, story path system in general, really, as used in Trinity Continuum Core, or TCC, because it's just far easier to say. This document in particular is horror themed, so it did open with a 2-hour discussion on safety tools. I mean, I say like it took 2 hours to discuss it, but I write while talking, so it's 2 sides of A4 on safety tools and kind of best practice for running horror games, and includes such genres as body horror, cosmic horror, folk horror, psychological horror, and you can probably see disaster horror in the sidebar because right here. Because formatting is important when doing any kind of writing. Supplemental RPG material, arguably more so. Now, I'm going to address the elephant in the room. I probably should have addressed this before, but I only really thought about it long enough to put it into words yesterday, actually. Sorry, I need to hydrate before I do this. Gothic horror. Not on the list. A psychological horror, by the way. This is primarily because, to my mind, Gothic horror is out of all the like overarching large genres, is the hardest to quantify because it's more about emotion writ large and taken to extremes, and the tragedy and spookiness inherent in that. It's really quite difficult to come up with like 8 mechanical options to represent that. Gothic horror to me lies more in the storytelling and the choices that the characters make rather than in the role-playing, let's say. You know what? It's a role-playing game. I can say that. In the role-playing. Than in any actual mechanical on the sheet things that your character can do. Now, I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm saying that in the 2 hours a week, the 2 hours a fortnight I have on this show, I don't want to devote the, quite frankly, much greater than normal amount of time it would take for me to come up with two scene-wide mechanics, 2 skill tricks, 2 edges, 2 gifts, and eventually 2 anomaly powers to accurately portray and reflect Gothic horror at the tabletop. There are games out there built from the ground up for Gothic horror, and I highly recommend looking at those for inspiration, because I definitely feel, unlike almost any other genre of horror, including psychological, which you can mechanize to some degree. You can twist the game mechanics, or not twist, but you can use the game mechanics to simulate certain things, right? As I did with unreliable sensors, or like you learn too much, or you learn different things, and how much of it can you truly trust, and like manifestation of fear and the control you have over that. And that's all well and good, but honestly, that's a lot easier to mechanize than this house is full of just a feeling of loss and longing, and things are happening that seem to indicate that perhaps its inhabitants haven't fully moved on, or, you know, a love that is so powerful it transcends time, space, and sanity itself. I'm going for examples here, you know, like things like that. And that's all. I hate to use soft and hard in relation to games that don't already have those words in, but like what I'm dealing with here is, I guess, the hard side of mechanics, where it has actual tangible implementation. And then in this for this context, because language games are a thing, soft would very much be the role-playing side of things, where it's stuff that you can't quantify, you can't write down, you can't. It shouldn't be consistent, same in, same out, right? Because you should react to things differently every time. And certainly with Gothic horror, as the mystery of what happens deepens, I don't think that saying you can do the same consistent thing time over time after time after time after time is really in the spirit, if you'll pardon the phrase, pardon the word, pun, of the genre itself, which is tragedy and the spiraling of emotion and, to some extent, you know, loss of control. So I'll probably add something like that in my introduction, just to explain why there's not really a discussion of Gothic horror. But for me, I don't feel confident enough in my abilities to properly quantify and mechanize Gothic horror tropes, and to my satisfaction. Obviously, if you want to do it, go ahead, throw it up on the Storypath Nexus, more power to you. It's just not something I'm terribly... oh, there's the stammer. Terribly... let's get around the hard C by saying happy. Terribly happy to do. So apologies for anyone who's watching and was like, I really want them to do Gothic horror. It's probably not going to happen. I'm going to also briefly roll back to my mention of anomaly powers. I'm going to finish comic horror, not cosmic, comic horror, so that I've got everything written, and then I'm going to go back and devote a couple of streams to anomaly powers, and mostly just because I don't think it's going to take over long for me to do. And also, a lot of what I'm doing here is very much with an eye for player engagement and how players interact with the game. Because they're all player options, right? Apart from the scene mechanics. Tricks, edges, and gifts are all player options. Sure, NPCs and antagonists can have them. Hey, Alan! There's no reason that an NPC or an antagonist, for example, couldn't have the bone weapon gift. And all of these gifts and edges could feasibly be used as anomaly powers, don't get me wrong. But because anomaly powers are very much not player focused, they aren't, to some extent, my interpretation only, obviously. TC core writers might have a different way of looking at it. But to my extent, they're not as... To my interpretation, understanding, takeaway, whatever you want to say, about anomaly powers is that they aren't as mechanically complex because they aren't designed to be used time after time after time after time after time, right? They don't need that complexity, they don't need that utility, because they're there to provide flavor to an antagonist. And it's okay if only one antagonist in an entire Chronicle story. Gonna settle for campaign. If only one antagonist has that anomaly power, because there's other options, right? So because they are necessarily simpler than skill tricks and edges and gifts, I just don't anticipate them taking as long. And I'd also... You've probably noticed by now, after 58 and a quarter episodes, so I was looking at the recording times and doing quick maths, that I like to do things in a cohesive manner, let's say. And I don't particularly like going from player option, like a chunk of player options to two things for antagonists, back to a chunk of player options to two things for antagonists. I'd rather just get all the player options done, go back through, do all the antagonist stuff. Also, it gives me time to think and about my approach to genres, and allows me to look at things that I haven't done elsewhere, and interactions with mechanics or extensions or alterations of mechanics that I haven't used elsewhere in the book. Because if you're going to do something that breaks mechanics in a way that the players aren't expecting, I really, truly, genuinely feel that that's what a horror villain is for. You're supposed to present something to the players who, this might be their first TC game, they might be Trinity Continuum or Story Path like veterans, and then you put like a villain in that ignores half the rules they're expecting, and I'm not saying do it all the time, but it's a good way of causing fear. So that's my plan. I've probably mentioned it before. There's 2 weeks between each show, and I'll be honest, a lot of the time I don't remember what I've said on stream. I'm just stream of consciousness speaking right now to avoid dead air. Although, if we take a moment to appreciate the music, it's good. So I don't tend to remember what I said on stream. So I know I do the same intro every time because I wrote that down. So I did the same. So I have that consistency, and don't forget anything important. So I do, beg your pardon if I repeat myself a fair amount about points and things. All that said, let's start with something new. Comic horror. And you know what? I'm just going to steal this, because I'm taking it from Wikipedia again. Oh hey, there's my troll emote. Yeah, look at that cute little troll. It is not the 26th of October anymore. It is somehow 7th of June. Nope. 0706. There we go. I know how calendars work. And it is also 2022. Have I really been doing... I mean, mentally, I know that it's been that long, but have I really been... Did I really start this in October? Have I really been doing this for, like, 9 months? 8 months? I guess it'd be 8 months, because it's the end of October. But, yeah, 26th of October, I started writing the body horror section, and we're on the 7th of June. How time flies when you're being perceived. Also, I just figured the comic. So that's not what I wanted to do. We've had a lot of really serious discussion about mechanics and tropes. And I thought we'd take it down a little bit. We'd do something a little more lighthearted. That needs indenting because it's a block of text. Remove that citation because it's not on Wikipedia. Been described as able to be categorized under 3 types: black comedy, parody, and spoof. It often crosses over the black comedy genre. Comedy horror can also parody or subtly spoof horror cliches as its main source of humor, or use those elements to take a story in a different direction. And then, because that's not the end of the sentence on Wikipedia, we just do that. And there we go. Reminder, because it is a block, it doesn't require quotation marks. To my understanding and recall of such things. So, now I need to discuss the tropes and how to write comic horror scenarios. But, before that, however... so, today I've taken the gamble. I've got the microphone behind the keyboard. I like being able to see the keyboard. Hopefully the keystrokes aren't too loud. I'm sure you all will... I'm sure that someone will point out if the keystrokes are too loud, and if they are too loud, I will move the microphone in front of the keyboard and just deal with being able to see only 2/3 of my keyboard properly. But until that happens, we are 35 minutes into the recording. Let's go. So obviously the first thing to be wary of whenever discussing or writing anything related to comedy, it is very important. My gosh, I can type so much better when there's not a microphone in the way. Who knew? To be aware of the fact that comedy can be accidentally harmful or offensive. This supplement assumes that you do not want to intentionally harm or offend people, because there are people out there who think it's clever to do so. I'm not one of those people, so I'm just going to point that out right there. Your players. Something to bear in mind is that it is easy to punch down in the name of comedy, semicolon. That is... I can type weirdly well without looking at your keyboard. Oh, I touch type, but that's, you know, just habit and experience. No, my main issue for those who are watching and who haven't been listening for the past, or watching the past couple of episodes, is so I use a Blue Yeti microphone, which is it's a notoriously sensitive microphone. And it's just on the desk. I don't have a boom arm for it or anything. I do need to get one, but they're expensive. And I had it in front of the keyboard to cut down on keystroke noise, because I don't like hearing keystrokes. It does horrible things to my auditory processing issues. But it was in such a position that, like, I had to have my hand at a weird angle, which completely threw off my touch typing. And then also, because of where it was, it also blocked, like, it blocked the middle of my keyboard, so I couldn't even see some keys. So I was like having to guess with touch typing at a weird angle, making accommodations for a huge microphone. It was a whole thing. And, you know, it's annoying, but today I just can't be bothered to deal with it, if I'm being honest. My brain space isn't great, and I want to put on the best show that I can. And if that is predicated on the fact that, for this show at least, you can hear the keystrokes, so I don't have to worry about working around the microphone, I apologize, but that's my decision to make. That said, if it does become a problem, please do let me know. I will move the microphone. My typing speed will just go down, that's all. Something to bear in mind is that it's easy to punch down in the name of comedy. Oh, yeah, I guess if you don't know some Microsoft Word knowledge for you all, although I think it works in pretty much any Office program. If you hold Control down and press left and right on the arrow keys, it will just take you to the start of the next word. Well, it'll take you to the start of the previous or the next word. There is a double space there. That is punching down is often defined as making fun or light of people and situation. Let's just say people that are in a worse situation than yourself, because anyone can punch down. It just largely happens to be cis-het white middle-aged guys. You know, in the public consciousness, anyway. Often these are minorities, people belonging to minorities. Say it ain't so. Why would I say anything so brave? But also, please remember, before the show gets pulled, these are all my opinions. They're not Onyx Paths in any way. Again, I don't represent them. I'm just a fan with a platform and someone who occasionally, let's say occasionally, asterisk quite often, let's say speaks without really thinking things through. Often these people belonging to minorities. Please do bear this in mind when writing any material for the comic horror genre, as horror, as discussed elsewhere in the supplement, unfortunately, loud keystrokes, I apologise, frequently draws upon harmful stereotypes that will compound any punching down that occurs. Any punching... Nope. There we go. I'm also still getting used to my keyboard. After years of a laptop's flat keyboard, having a keyboard that A is raised and B has raised keycaps is still taking some getting used to. Also, I'm going to try to get into the habit of saving after every paragraph, because I realised last stream I didn't save once, which is terrible practice, so I'm going to save. I think everyone at this point knows Control-S saves, but if you didn't know, Control-S is your save shortcut in Microsoft Word and most of the Office suite. All of the Office suite. And most other programs. I'm probably going to mention this again on the panel, but something to bear in mind when, you know, not just writing community content, but writing any material that you are expecting to share with other people, even if it's just your own table. So my background's in academia, right? I have a degree. I went to university. I studied religious and theological studies, which is an essay-based subject. And ignoring the soft skills that it taught me that I've not been able to use anywhere else but in role-playing and streaming, I guess, one of the single greatest lessons that I've learned through all of the essays I have written is always assume that your reader does not know what you are talking about. And obviously, like, to some extent with the show, that's what I do. It's second nature to me now to assume that, which is why I explain everything. Because people might stumble on the show and they don't necessarily know what I'm talking about. And that's why I'm always happy to answer questions about why I'm doing things a certain way or what mechanical terms I'm talking about actually mean. So again, please do ask for clarification, ask me to expound, elaborate, other synonyms to make myself look smart about anything that I'm talking about here, or just anything in general. That don't feel like you have to ask questions about the material I'm writing. That is purely there as a backdrop to give me something to talk about when there are no other questions to answer. My dream, of course, eventually, one day, is that the show is so popular and the channel does so well that I do entire streams where I haven't written a word. I've just been talking to chat and answering questions. Hasn't happened in 3 years, but it might. One day, I believe. Yeah, so assume that your audience, your target audience, doesn't know, you know, what you're talking about. They know nothing about the subject. For role playing, obviously, particularly when it's a supplement like this designed to work alongside the core rulebook, they've got to have the core rulebook to make use of it, so you don't have to explain every little thing. So I don't have to explain complications or enhancement, because that's all in the core rulebook, right? This is just supplementary material. But this is it's why I explain why I've repeated things throughout this supplement, because people might just read the section that they're interested in, but also like it's going to be 100 words max, and I'm already at nearly 7,000. And the more you read something, the more you remember it, and the more it sinks in. And I'd rather have these points that just be careful about offending people and hurting them unintentionally, just hammered in to make people feel safe at the table. Also, side note, one of the other advantages of assuming that, of writing, and whilst writing, assuming that your audience has no idea what you're on about. If you say, hypothetically, this, of course, never happened to me, put like a mechanic idea down on paper, and don't really provide any more information about what you're trying to do with the mechanic, or where it's supposed to fit in, or what it's actually supposed to do, and then you come back to it like 6 months later and you just look at it and you go, what the heck was I thinking when I made this? And then spend 2 hours just trying to figure out where you were in the game when you wrote it, why you wrote it, and what you intended to do with it. That never happened to me, of course, as a thoroughly professional GM. Rates reasonable. Yeah. And of course, if it's clear, concise, and easily understood, one, it shows that you know how the game works, and two, anyone can use it. And really, a lot of this is just about removing those hurdles to gameplay, to fun, to entertainment. If people are buying this product, presumably they want to get some entertainment and fun from it, and they're not going to do that if they don't understand it. And that works whether you're doing something like this, where you're just offering a whole host of player options and mechanics to emulate different genres for Trinity Continuum, or if you've written a dungeon for Pugmire, well, for the realms of Pugmire, or if you have, if you've just put a custom antagonist up for Scion. If the person who has bought it, who's chosen to support your work, cannot understand what you're trying to get across because the language is unclear, or the design is confusing or overly complex, they're not going to buy your work again. If you're lucky, they will contact you and let you know, or they'll leave a review explaining why certain things are unclear. But I know I've been around the internet long enough, and I've been a content creator long enough to know that people, certainly in my experience, often don't leave reviews, and I've no idea how successful in terms of entertainment value and use any of the material I've written is. That said, if anyone does ever use any of my material, please tweet at Comrade Bubbles and let me know what you think. Also, if you got it from the community content pages, please do leave a review. It does help a lot. I know I've just said people often don't, but it does help a lot in terms of discoverability more than anything. But also, I like to know where I've gone wrong or right, so that I can not make those mistakes in the future. TLDR, assume that your audience knows nothing about what you're talking about, and you can't go too far wrong by explaining it in simple and easily understood terms. Not to say, do not patronize your reader. Do not insult their intelligence. Just make sure everything is easily understood. And it's not that difficult to do that without patronizing people. I generally feel that if you're writing something in a way that is patronizing, you're probably trying to be offensive. I say that, and I'm almost certain to do that in this document somewhere, and I apologize in advance if I do. I'm not trying to insult people. I just want to make things clear and easily understood. There is the "don't think things through" thing again before speech. So, top of the advice provided elsewhere in this supplement, the following. You know, I'm not going to do a list. I'm just going to do it as a paragraph. It is also worth. No. You know, let's start the sentence again. What's the saying? Don't be afraid to kill your babies when writing. Because comic horror in and of itself has no specific genre, it is almost certain that you will be using the guidelines, let's say options presented in this chapter, alongside those found elsewhere, whether in this supplement or others. You know what, let's go to the parentheses and we'll just have this as a clause at the end of the sentence. Whether in this supplement or others. Probably not the saying. Are you sure though? Are you really sure? However, as these introductory sections are used to convey, to provide some advice and guidance on writing let's just say material related to the genre, horror genre of your choice. There are still some. Let's say there is still some. Yes, still some advice. No, I think it's don't be afraid to kill your darlings, in all fairness. However, as these introductory sections are used to provide some guidance on writing material related to the horror genre of your choice, there is still some advice worth bearing in mind. The first being that comedy as a tool can be used to break the tension and player immersion that horror games often rely on. As such, it should be used sparingly and for a purpose. You know, that's a long sentence. Never mind. We'll just leave it as is. I'm not even going to do a semicolon. I think that works fine as is. Often this purpose will be to alleviate moments of strong emotion or to highlight the absurdity of the situation that the characters find themselves in. whilst also, or while also, you know, I'm going to stick with whilst. It's idiosyncratic. There we go. Whilst also revealing more of the horrors around them. So right now I'm thinking of the cabin scene in Evil Dead 2 where everything starts laughing, including Ash. Because it's a horrific scene, but it does also have the elements of absurdist comedy. So that's what I'm reaching for here. These moments can often be used to change the focus of a story or alter its tone in some way, whether leading the characters into a more hopeful, let's say in a more hopeful direction, or driving them deeper into the horrors they are surrounded, into the horror they are surrounded by, let's say. As ever, if you want to challenge me on any of this, please do. I'm not a professional literary critic. I have no great understanding of genres and narratives. This is all just kind of gut reaction and feeling from having read and played a lot of different stories. It's the truism of, if you want to be a good writer, read the works of others. And read a lot of different material, because it's only by getting that understanding of everything around what you want to do that you can truly understand what you are doing. Obviously, of course, your mileage may vary. Still good advice. Comedy can also be used to subvert player expectations. Do not have brain today to smart. Welcome to this show. Every time I stream it, happy chap. Comedy can also be used to subvert player expectations and reveal twists and other hidden say reveal hidden truths or change the player's understanding of the story of the game. Let's say of the game. Let's say the story. Narrative. Narrative is more formal. And obviously, when doing things like this, whilst, yes, a certain level of informality is good, because it allows you to use more casual, relaxed language to form a bond with the reader to draw them in. There's also, I don't know, I guess a certain expectation regarding professionalism and formality, whereas I'm not saying don't write community content in your own preferred style. I'm just saying if you... how to phrase this without being offensive. It goes back to the point I keep making about mirroring official products. If you want to... I can't speak for, you know, how well this will make a product sell or how popular it will be, but to my mind, at least, if you're going to be making community content for a game line, it's more likely to find success if it reflects the quality of the writing in that game line. So if the game line itself that you're writing for, no matter what it is, any game, does use extremely informal, casual language, go for it. A lot of rulebooks don't, because that formality, that more rigid specificity to the language used is important, because it's also purposefully unambiguous. It is clear-cut, mostly, and because it is of a more formal register, using some fancy words here, because it is of a more formal register, it gives you a consistent tone throughout the work, and it gives you, as a writer, less room to confuse matters with poor word choice, let's say. Because I use more informal register when speaking, when talking my thought processes through, when trying to provide the advice. And again, I don't have all the answers. No one has all the answers. But because I use that more informal register, more casual way of speaking, more idiosyncratic, I use metaphors. Quite often, I will admit, I purposefully use metaphors. That's combining two metaphors to come up with something that is incorrect. You know, like, let's burn that bridge when we get to it. Just to provide something, like some entertainment value to the stream more than anything. But sometimes I genuinely just mix them up. I will say things that are perhaps slightly ambiguous, that can be taken in a couple of different ways. Informality in rules tends to create loopholes. Exactly, Happy Chap. And that's what... basically what Happy Chap just said. You can see it on screen, but informality in rules tends to create loopholes, for those of you listening, is what I'm talking all the way around. You need that specific... You need the specificity of language and the repetition of certain words meaning the same thing every time. Now, some rulebooks will... and I'm a big fan when rulebooks do this, but some... You brained good, go you. Indeed. Some rulebooks will, in fact, include a glossary at the start, and Onyx Path are fantastic for this. Usually their rulebooks have a glossary or a lexicon. It's called different things in different books, but it's a list of game terms and what they mean. And it's usually at the beginning of the book. It's on page 17 in the TC core book. It's usually immediately after the inspirational media as well. You know, it's at the end of the introduction, essentially. Like, they introduce the game, and then here's the game words that you'll be encountering throughout the book and what they mean. And if you're like me, sure, you'll skim it and then move on. But it's there to go back to and reference for everything. Now, I will note that a lot of the time it is simply like game line specific terms. Sorry, 1 second. If you want mechanically specific terms, then you go into Trinity Continuum. Chapter 3, the story path system, breaks down the dice rolls, and it's not a terribly long chapter. At 32 pages long. There's 200 other pages in the book of material, but that's what includes pretty much all of the game mechanics that you'll need to know. And it's just useful to have that glossary. But yeah. Anyway, back to what I was doing. I've said the first being that comedy as a tool can be used to break the tension and player immersion that horror games often rely on. I need to provide some secondary piece of advice for comic horror. The second piece of advice is that it is while a session 0 is always worth having, you know what? I don't know where I was going with that. I'll be honest. I had no idea. That sentence got away from me. The second piece of advice is that, as with all the material in this book, in the supplement, sorry, again, consistency. Second piece of advice is that, as with all the material in the supplement, that needs comma. I could also use home and end to flick to start and end of lines, I suppose, but who has the time to do that? I'm not sure I'll mash the left arrow key a couple of times. Is that as with all the material in the supplement? Comedy benefits most from being discussed with the players in advance. Well, yeah, control mash is what I was doing. Sorry. I could. If I'm not gonna press control down, I'm just gonna hold the key. I'll be honest. It's faster. I can't mash that quickly. Comedy benefits most from being discussed. Let's say should be discussed. In fact, no. That sentence again doesn't make sense with how I've started it. Delete. Second piece of advice is that you should always bear your players' requests and preferences in mind when dealing with any kind of comedy. Ideally, this would be done during a session 0, but this kind of conversation should be had throughout the game, preferably during downtime, preferably between sessions, let's say, because different players enjoy different amounts and kinds of comedy. As comedy is a subjective, I put genre, but tool I guess would work as well. You know, as comedy is a subjective tool in storytelling. You should identify what kinds of jokes, quirks, and narrative beats will resonate most with your characters. With your players, sorry. Not characters, with your players. The characters. My gosh, they've come alive! I just punched the bottom of my tankard. Please bear with me while I drip. Do they keep coming alive? They do. Right, I'm just going to mute the microphone while I frantically dry my arm on my t-shirt so that I can keep typing. I'm pleasantly cool now. I was overheating slightly. Also, 58 and a half episodes before the first major water-related spillage. I'll take it. May my streak can be as long again. Comedy is a subjective tool in storytelling. You should identify what kinds of jokes, quirks, narrative beats will resonate most with your players. Because you do not want to punch down, as described above. Or invest effort in crafting a joke. You found it hard to believe? Every episode is on YouTube. You could go to my YouTube channel and watch. I don't care what speed you watch, just give me them views. And comments, please. To identify that. But I'm pretty sure that is the first water-related spillage I guess first spillage I've had. I punched my desk a couple of times because that's just the streaming life. Or, you know, caught it with my hand because I talk with my hands when I'm talking, but I've never actually spilled my water. Or invest effort in crafting a joke that no one but you finds funny, finds amusing. Funny is a weirdly informal term. No one but you finds amusing. So basically, don't punch down. Comedy can be used to interact with strong emotion in some way, or to subvert expectations. And also, you don't want to plan something that you think is cool that none of your players enjoy, because that's just wasted effort, and you'll look around at the table and just get blank faces. There are, let's say, numerous examples of this happening, not that I'm aware of on the Onyx Path channel, but of this happening in actual plays and con games where people have attempted to pass off what they've done as humor because they find it amusing, when in actuality it's horrific and, you know, not amusing in any way, shape or form, and in fact goes against common sense, common decency, and it's stuff that really should be picked up by safety tools. But then again, I know that certain people don't believe in safety tools, so here's where we are as a hobby. Right. I don't know why I'm bothering to copy paste this. I could just type out optional mechanics, but there we go. Copy paste instead. So obviously we're going to be drawing upon things like The Evil Dead, Scooby-Doo, Cabin in the Woods, all of that kind of stuff. The lazy is strong. It's less lazy and more some people believe that being unwilling to offend or hurt other people, or, you know, trigger them in some cases, is pandering to the woke. I don't. Oh, yeah, that lazy. Yeah, I'm just lazy when it comes to formatting. Sorry, I thought we were on about consent checklists and stuff. Yeah, absolutely, the lazy is strong. I'm a lazy storyteller. GM. Story guide. There we go. Story guide is the Trinity Continuum term. Actually, you know, just in general, lazy DM, GM, storyteller, story guide, games moderator, whatever. Whatever word you want to use it, just stick lazy in front of it, and that's me. I will do the bare minimum prep, and no one will know, which is incredible. But it's a truism. If anyone out there is watching or listening, and you are put off from GMing by the perceived amount of preparation you have to do, Kiwi's gonna beat us both up for this. For what? I assure you, you can go a long way. Improvisation for the win, exactly, Alan. You can go a long way with improvisation. So obviously, like, there are GMs out there who who are publicly renowned for having like 20-page lore documents at all times. And yes, I write campaign settings for Patreon, and I know that information. I don't keep it on me at all times, but by the by, there is a GIF that perfectly explains my GMing style. But for some context first, for anyone that say who's put off by GMing, or writing material, to pull it back to the community content aspect of things, a lot of writers will set out with outlines, right? And here's where I lose support from writers I know. But a lot of writers will make out project outlines, and they'll have like word breakdowns and things they want to cover. I have never particularly found myself working well to a formal outline. Like, of course, I have some vague idea of what I want to write about and what I want to cover. And for this series of the show, it was the chapter headings. And I knew I wanted to include the scene-wide mechanics and the skill tricks, etc. But that's kind of it. My planning for community content, for campaign writing, for one-shot writing, for GMing in general is very much kind of top-level overview of stuff. I know I will have the vaguest idea of what I want to do, and I'll just go from there. I do creative writing, and I do this in creative writing as well. I write to discover, right? Some role-playing games that play to find out. I write to find out. I never know what I'm going to be writing. I never know what I'm going to be saying on the page or at the table until I say it. And again, this is not for everyone. I do not recommend. If you're not comfortable with improvisation, do not do this. Do the amount of preparation that you are happy with, because only you know you, right? And I know that like some people in advance of this show may not have named the tricks, edges, and gifts, but they might have already put thought into where they want to assign them, because that's just what they're comfortable with. Yeah, players are excellent at doing the unexpected, so why bother? Exactly, Alan gets it. So I'll have like the vaguest overview of I'm wrapping up a D&D campaign right now. We're in the final sessions of the campaign. The players are level 20. They're pushing through the final air quotes dungeon to get to the final boss, but they're still doing stuff I never anticipated. So it was very much, this is my rough idea of the level. This is kind of these are things that I'd like them to see, or that would be nice if they happened. But I reward them for their creativity, and they get past some puzzles or encounters just by, well, one of them I didn't care enough to investigate, but like they invested resources into what they thought was a solution, and I didn't want to punish them for it not being the right solution. So they jumped forward a couple of encounters, and it is what it is. But because players do the unexpected, and because I desperately want to reward them for doing the unexpected and being creative, and because if I write something down in like an outline, or actually, good example of this is my campaign setting, right? So I have a Patreon account. I write D&D 5e campaign settings for it. I never use campaign settings. I barely look at my own material when I run games, because if it's written down, that is the way it has to be. I used to plan sessions out with like, they're going to go to this scene, and if this happens, they'll go to this scene. If this happens, they'll go to this scene. And then if they did something that wasn't accounted for, I did the best I could to get them to one of those two scenes. And it's restrictive, and I felt like it didn't work as well as it perhaps could. So obviously, like, I'm probably not the best person to be giving advice about writing campaign settings or adventures, which I will be. I have written adventures on this show before. I'll write adventures on the show again. But if you are writing adventures, the best thing I can say is like, provide plenty of story hooks throughout for further adventures, because if a party plays through your adventure and it's not like, that's it, it's self-contained adventures, they are fine, don't get me wrong, they are fine, but would you rather have an adventure that they've played once and never think about again, or an adventure that they play that has plot hooks in it for like later story stuff to happen, and when that stuff happens, they think about your adventure again. I'm much more in that category. I'd rather people be thinking about the stories that I've helped them tell continuously, rather than, oh, hey, that was a cool game. Not that I would be sad if that was the only engagement with my work that there is. Oh, hey, that's cool. So I'm rambling. Back to the original train of thought. The GIF. So because I generally don't plan things out that much anymore, I'll have the vague overview. I'll have the narrative beats that I think that are likely to come up, and they're subject to change anyway. There's an animated comedy series called Wallace and Gromit, and if you type in like Gromit train tracks, etc., you'll probably find it in any GIF site of your choice. Gromit is the dog, and in one of the episodes, without context, it sounds weird, in one of the episodes he's chasing a penguin on a toy train set. Except he's gone off tracks, and here's where it ties into role-playing. He's gone off the rails, literally, and he's just got the box of rails and like under one arm, and he's just continuously laying the track in front of him as he goes. And that, to me, is just my perfect level of GMing. The box of track pieces is the planned story beats and encounters and puzzles and whatnot, and NPCs. But where they actually go and in which order they are encountered is entirely up to the players. There are no tracks. We're all in this ride together. We'll get to the end at some point in whatever fashion the players decide to get there. I keep telling my players this, and they keep insisting that they're ignoring plot hooks and breaking my narrative, and I'm like, no, it's our narrative. This is our table. I'm just providing the building blocks to tell a cool story. I was going to mention something else. Right, yes. For anyone also put off by GMing who might not be as comfortable with improvisation, and that's why random tables exist. If you do want to try more of an improv heavy style GMing gameplay wise, random tables are your friend. They exist in most products, and you can always adapt a table from one rulebook for a different game. There's no law saying you can't. Something really important to bear in mind is that as the GM, and this applies if you use a screen or you don't. I don't use a GM screen. I roll in the open. I will be honest about like the difficulty of actions or the DC playing the dragon game. Is that the players never know you've gone wrong unless you tell them you've gone wrong. I mean, it's obvious in hindsight, right? Like, but they just assume that what has happened is what you meant to happen. And it is simultaneously the greatest power and the most terrifying power at the same time. Because I've had moments where I've misspoken, and a couple of minutes later I'm like, oh god, that doesn't narratively make sense. Why would that have happened? And my players, they didn't care, they didn't even notice something was wrong. It does lead to some interesting circumstances, and it does lead to some further development of things that perhaps you wouldn't have focused on. So I will say, one, as I said, players don't know you've gone wrong until you tell them you've gone wrong. And two, just embrace the mistakes. We're all human. Story guides, storytellers, GMs, whatever title you want to give them. At the end of the day, unless you're playing a solo game that uses an AI to generate story prompts, it is a conversation. People will misspeak. People will make mistakes, whether in rules calls, or narrative description, or location mechanics, scene mechanics. Mistakes are going to happen. Embrace the mistakes. And genuinely, rather than retconning things, just roll with it. And 9 times out of 10, you will have a better story for embracing this horribly messy human condition than trying to create, like, the perfect game. I think I'm done. I don't really have time to finish this section now, which is annoying. You know what? I'm going to break with tradition, and I'm going to do one. I'm going to do one mechanic. I'm going to try and do two, but I think I can do one. You want to play in a game? IGM, story guide again. I think you've been doing it once before. I don't know that you have. You might have just heard me GMing, but I'm like, I have improved since the cafe days. No question. That's 4 years ago at this point, I think, since we saw each other in person last, and I have definitely improved in that amount of time through playing a wide variety of games and just through role playing every week. Anyway, comedy horror mechanic, scene wide. So traps I'd like to have as an edge, like trap making. And I want an anomaly power that's just secret passage. So those are out. Do I get meta? I feel like if I'm going to get meta with any material in this book, this is the perfect section for it. I think I might get meta. Laugh in the face of danger. Whenever a player laughs at a character's actions. I don't tend to get meta with game mechanics purely because it's so easy to mess it up really badly. But as I say, I feel like... hang on, this needs to be... Yeah. I feel like if there is any genre to do it in, it's in comic horror. Whenever a player laughs at the character's action... Let's say whenever more than one player laughs at a character's actions, that character gains an enhancement. Oops. Equal to half the current. Oh no! You know what? Even better. That character may spend dice from the momentum pool as enhancement on the next roll they make. As enhancement, comma, instead of adding dice to their pool. On the next roll they make in this scene. You know what, let's not do a next roll. On one roll they make before the end of this scene. A player may be awarded benefits of this mechanic if the story guide determines their role-playing. Is in line with previously established character traits. And puts their character at a disadvantage. So you've got a meta bit of it, and then also there's just a an actual. If you don't like meta mechanics, there's an actual in-game mechanic. I kind of want to include a rider saying like you don't have to use this bit of the mechanic. part of the mechanic should only be included if every player at the table is comfortable with using a meta mechanic. Let's say out of character mechanic. Meta can mean a couple of different things. I know usually it obviously means like above table or table talk, etc. But we'll just put it there. And then if I say additionally, that from a writing point of view separates that section from the first section, which might not be included. No, not bold, you fool, heading 3. Trademark. Now, obviously, because I don't want to tread on They Came From's toes here. They Came From being a game line emulating movies in a wide variety of genres, for those who don't know. So they do deal with like trademarks and quips and scene changes. I don't want to tread on the toes of the They Came From game line here, but again, it's comic horror, and a lot of comic horror stuff, characters will have, certainly like series that have recurring characters. The characters will have a trademark, like clothing of item or saying or something, and I want to have that mechanically represented. So I guess during character creation, or whenever the story guide deems appropriate, each player should decide on a trademark saying, piece of equipment, item of clothing, or similar. Whenever they use that saying organically, because you don't want to be using it like saying it, just forcing it, let's say. Whenever they use that saying organically, without forcing it, to fit. Maybe they use that. I mean, let's just say trademark organically without forcing it to fit. They may gain, let's say, level 2 enhancement. Level 2 enhancement on their next roll. Boom. 2 scene-wide mechanics. So, it's the end of the show. End of the stream. It's not the end of the show. The show will continue. So today I have introduced comic horror. As usual, I started with a definition and then some advice about using it in your own games. Provided 2 optional mechanics that you can use to represent like comic horror tropes, as well as going on a quite long-winded talk about the importance of formal register versus the informal register in writing material, and how I approach running and preparing for role-playing games, which I probably mentioned before thinking about it, but there we go. It's been a while since I have, I believe. We'll just go through the outro and then, you know, the standard stuff, really. So, as I said at the top of the episode, the best place to go for any updates about the Onyx Path and their projects are always the Monday meeting notes. The big thing for the Monday meeting notes is that this week, Friday, 5 PM, is the start of Onyx Path Virtual Convention. There will be panels all weekend running through till 5 PM Eastern on Sunday, which is the start of the closing ceremonies on this channel, twitch.tv/theonyxpath. Sorry, I'll say that slower. Twitch.tv/theonyxpath. There are 4 other channels running actual plays concurrently with the panels, so highly recommend going to that link, scrolling down to the convention section and planning out... Hey Kiwi, it is the Bubs. And planning out your con schedule if you want to. Myself, Comrade Bubbles, or Ryan if you prefer, I will be on the Community Content Fundamentals panel with Alan GHL SPD, or Gelspad if you prefer, and we'll be talking presumably with other people. I know that someone else in the email chain has a one bookshelf email address, so platform owner, so we get to hear I guess the technical side of things. But we'll be talking about community content, and that is the last panel of the con. That is at Sunday 4 PM Eastern on this Twitch channel. Another important thing happening is the whole Indiegogo campaign right now for Exalted Exigence Out of the Ashes. Being another supplement for Exalted 3rd Edition. Exigence being a specific type of Exalt. I went into that all at the beginning of the show. Suffice to say, the project is funded, so if you pledge to back it, you will get a product at the end of it. I'm just going to refresh the page to see if the funding has increased. See if anyone's pledged while I've been going. I think they have. But we're still 338% funded, so it's impressively funded. Stretch goals are being met left, right, and centre. Final big piece of information to note. This month is Crossroads Continent month for the 10th anniversary sale. The different game line every month. This month, Crossroads Continent. And that will be 90% off of the cover price of PDFs for Crossroads Continent material. After Wednesday, that will be 2 different things. You'll have Peoples of the Crossroads Continent, which is player options, and Down in the Hole, which is an adventure for the Crossroads Continent. Sorry, pardon me. Those are the 2 big things. Other big thing to note, in about an hour and 10 minutes time is the season finale of Lunch and Crunch, where Danielle Lawson and Eddie Webb talk about Storypath stuff and role-playing stuff in general. My understanding of the show, because I've yet to have the time to watch it, is it's a bit similar to this show, but professional. And with more, experience behind it. They will be talking to, I believe, Matthew Dawkins about designing humorous games. So please do check that out if you're interested in doing so. Rest of the schedule today at 6 PM Eastern. They Came From Beyond the Grave Storypath Showcase. Wednesday at 9, Mage to the Ascension game. Friday 5 PM, as I said, is the opening ceremony for the convention, and the closing ceremony starts at 5:30 PM on Sunday. The full convention panel actual playlist, as I said, is on the Monday meeting notes. Please do check it out if you want to plan around the weekend. If you want to see the full project timeline to see where books you may be interested in are falling, that's now a monthly thing with the full list. So there's at the end of the month in the release roundup. But again, I mentioned at the top of the stream where things are in that timeline as of time of recording that have moved since the May roundup. If you have enjoyed the show, please do consider subscribing to the Onyx Path Twitch channel. Obviously, it helps to support the Onyx Path as a publisher. I don't know if any of you watching really pay any attention, or listening, really pay any attention to the TTRPG industry outside of the games of your choice, but every publisher got hit hard by COVID, essentially. And not every publisher has Wizards and Hasbro's money to fall back on. I'm not saying Onyx Path are in danger. I have no idea. I'm just saying any support is always nice and gratefully appreciated, obviously. If you have an Amazon Prime account, you can link it to your Twitch Prime account for a Prime Gaming account, and that gives you 1 free subscription a month. It doesn't auto-renew. You do have to deliberately renew it. But you get all the benefits of a Tier 1 account. The channel gets all the benefits of a Tier 1 account. It's just air quotes free because you've paid for it in your Amazon Prime account. If you have any questions, you can reach me in a couple of places. I'm on Twitter at Comrade Bubbles. I do stream on Twitch as Comrade Bubbles. I will be streaming in about half an hour on my channel. I don't generally stream TTRPG stuff because I don't have enough players. I stream video games. I'm always happy to talk about TTRPGs over on my channel or on Twitter. And as I said, I'll be on the panel, the community content panel. I'm going to ignore that. On the community content panel, and if you have any questions about community content writing, Alan, myself, and whoever else is involved, we'll be more than happy to answer them, essentially, because that's the point of a panel, really. If you have enjoyed the episode, but you missed, but you came in halfway through towards the end, it sounds like a cool streamer. They do, don't they? But you came in towards the end. If you are a subscriber to the Twitch channel, which is why I mentioned subscribing, you can watch this channel the moment you can watch this video, this stream, the moment it ends. If you are not a subscriber, there is a week's exclusivity before it becomes live on the Twitch VOD page, and I upload it to my YouTube channel. Well, honestly speaking, sometimes it's more than a week, sometimes I forget and you have to wait 2 weeks for it to go live on my YouTube channel. But all of the past episodes of the show, all of the episodes of the show that I can put on my YouTube channel, go on my YouTube channel. Please do not look for them on the Onyx Path YouTube channel, because they're not there. Onyx Path were kind enough to let me keep my show to myself, essentially. I will see if they want to change that when I finish the end of this series, and I'll keep everyone updated, obviously. But for now, it's on my YouTube channel. You'll have to go to YouTube and manually search for Comrade Bubbles behind the screen, but it's up there. I've also got Scion material, I've got Chronicles of Darkness material, I've got Scarred Lands material. This is the 4th series of the show I've done, and hopefully it's all entertaining. And I'm reasonably sure if you went back and watched my early material, there is a definite improvement in the show. Maybe. There's definitely more quantity of it, you know, because it keeps going. There's always more episodes. But this show is bi-weekly or fortnightly, so you will have to wait 2 weeks for the next show. As far as I'm aware, I can't see any reason why I won't be streaming on the 21st. With more comic horror stuff, we'll be looking at skill tricks. Probably skill tricks and edges. I think that's usually what I get through. But if you have enjoyed the show, please do let me know, let Onyx Path know, obviously. They like to know how their channel's doing. And for those who are new here, or who may have forgotten, my habit is to let the post roll a couple of times so that you can see all these sweet promotional artwork for that will be for the shows on the channel. And you know, sometimes there's informational stuff there as well about like what month it is for the anniversary, again, Crossroads Continent. So I'll let that roll a couple of times. I'll be in chat while that rolls, so if you do have any questions, feel free to ask them in chat. I'll answer them in chat. But for now, until I see all of you lovely people again, hopefully on Sunday at the panel, just saying, but also if it's, you know, the next time I stream, or a couple of streams down the line, or however long it takes, please do pet your pets, tell them they're good pets. And from me to you and your loved ones, please do stay safe, healthy, and wholesome. And I'll see you around in 2 weeks, hopefully, maybe earlier, because Sunday is less than 2 weeks away. I can do maths. Goodbye.